Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, my name is Karen Cheong and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Today we're going to be discussing how to smooth out the rough edges. When people experience or receive frequency work, often what happens is that there's a period of time when their physical, mental, emotional bodies need to catch up to the new reality on spirit level. And this period of time can vary in terms of its length and also its intensity. So today we're going to be discussing a couple of modalities which can help you integrate faster and more efficiently so you can continue down your path as quickly as you can. Let's jump right in. Dennis?
You know, Karen, this journey that you talk about can be extremely exciting and really very dynamic and a lot of fun. But I'm sure there's some days that aren't quite as exciting where, you know, challenges come up, or I think you referred to it as smoothing out the rough edges. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So when we experience or receive frequency work, what happens is that a massive change happens on spirit level. It's instant, it happens in real time. And then our physical, mental, emotional bodies have to catch up with that change because we're denser than on spirit level. So the frequencies have to make its way through the density or be removed from the density in order for these things to shift. And in that sort of catch-up period or period of adjustment, which we've referred to as detox in another video, that period can be not just a day, it can be a few days, sometimes it's weeks for people. And it depends on the person, and the intensity of their experience during that time can be quite strong, depending on who they are. And I've experienced it too, so I know what it feels like. And sometimes there are days where you're like, whoa, this is really intense, and I don't, it's just, gotta, you know, make it through. And there are modalities that I've discovered or been very fortunate to find, let's just put that, it's not like I discovered them, I'm fortunate to have found them, that have really accelerated that integration process. So you're going to have that integration process. It's just about how long it is and how intense it is. So for me personally, I don't like to prolong things. I mean, I'll go through them, but I don't necessarily need to drag it on forever. And so these are just to help people as they go through this.
Can I ask a question about that, just you know, before we go any further? You said that from a transition standpoint, it's like the spirit impact first, and then the physical human piece is after that. So, and there's what does that look like, or what are you talking about there? Like when you say that my spirit is starting to realize and starting to awaken or go through these changes, and then it's integrated through the body.
So the frequencies are way beyond, in vibrational level, beyond our bodies, because they're higher vibrating than the density, which is our body, which is like a slower sort of wave vibration. And so it's sort of like the difference between gas or steam and ice, right? Very different, right? So steam is vibrating very, very fast, ice very, very low. And it just has to do with the state they're in. So if you take like steam and exponentially jump up that vibrational level, that's the difference between frequency and our bodies. So just like if you were to squish a foam ball in your hand, like if you took a foam ball that was the size of a baseball and you squished it, it would compress because you're squishing it, right? And then as soon as you open your hand, the ball would go doing, and it would come back to its normal form. Well, similarly, the frequencies come into us, create us, and then they bind, like they condense, like bind into form. And then when I remove them or help you remove them, what happens is they pop out. So I'm literally pulling them out of the field. So it's like they go from here, they go, wah, as they leave, right? Because they've just unbound, they've gone back to their unbound state. So now what happens is that your whole system has to recalibrate because that frequency is no longer running through the field or that bunch of frequencies that makes you. So now it's an adjustment. It's almost as though, I don't know, if you lost like a huge amount of weight, for example, you would just be different. You would walk different, you would run different, you would experience life differently. It's kind of the same. It's not the best analogy, but you kind of know what I mean,
So when you say there could be some challenges. Are you talking about maybe headaches or just some kind of physical illness or?
Yeah, so some people have a number of things. So it could be physical. So it could be, you could have a cold, you could have a headache, you could get injured, you might need to sleep a lot, you might sprain your ankle, something like this. And then the emotional mental part is you might, if you have where we're weak. So if you physically tend to have a tendency to get, to have weakness in your lungs, for example, you might get a chest cold. Okay. Or if you have trouble with your digestion, you might get more stomach stuff. Okay, so it's where we're weak typically that it shows up. So that's physically. It may also show up mentally, emotionally. So it's where we're weak as well. So if you have a predisposition towards depression or worry or anger or feeling like you're a little bit, you want to control things or whatnot, that will spike up a little bit during this time as you recalibrate to a different order.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that, the gift that you have is to help release that distortion. But the challenge might be to me as a person, I could go through some imbalance, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And the key to it is to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So if I dip down as far as, if I'm laid up in bed for a day or all I can do is sleep, it's okay.
Oh, it's totally okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Sleep is really, what I'll say about sleep is that I don't know why our culture is so gung-ho on not sleeping. Like, wow, I only slept a couple of hours. I worked really, really late and I only slept a few hours. Like it's some kind of like cool thing, like we're so tough. Sleep is actually really, really, really important. And in our sleep, especially as we start to ascend, we become more efficient at releasing distortion patterns as we sleep. So it can be really critical that we sleep to do this. And in fact, some people, such as yourself, when you go to sleep during a GFC, it's a very efficient way of clearing distortion patterns, because what's happening is that your spirit is kicking your mental, wake mind out of the way so that you can go and receive without your mind getting in the way and trying to control things and doing all these machinations. You just go to sleep. It looks like sleep. And it allows for more work to happen, and then it also allows for more release to happen of the distortion patterns. So it's extremely efficient. Some people won't experience detox. They'll just go to sleep and wake up and they're like, done. It's really amazing. Yeah. So some people don't. It depends on the rule set that you have. So some people don't experience that. Some people for some people, they really struggle with, depending whatever they're meant to learn at the level they're at. So if they're meant to learn about the darkness, like if, say, for example, somebody always wants to be positive and cheery and whatever and happy all the time, and they don't want to look at their darkness, and we have a session, it's possible that something comes in where they're forced to look at that. And it's not because it's bad. I just want to make that very clear because it sounds scary. Yeah. It's not bad. It's that it's making them stronger because they have to acknowledge that part of themselves and accept it. Be like, okay, I have this grief. I have this anger, I have this fear, this whatever this is. Okay, all right, and now I can let it go. So you have to allow yourself to experience the emotion fully and then release it, and then it clears. Yeah.
And I think what you're saying also, as far as smoothing out the rough edges, there's other things that we can do to help just kind of move through this transition.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for me, this is my personal perspective and my journey of exploration, because of course I have received frequency work myself. So there's two modalities. There's a number of them that can help. So I'm going to talk about a couple of them briefly, like getting acupuncture, super helpful. Getting massage or body work, super helpful because it helps bring you into the body and helps clear it out. Floating in those sensory deprivation salt tanks, very helpful because you're in saline and it helps you, and you're in Epsom salts usually, and you're releasing into the water. Being in water, very helpful. There are two modalities that I find particularly helpful to me. They've been the fastest in terms of integration, and those are EFT, or emotional frequency technique. It's called the tapping method, I think a lot of people call it that. And there's another modality called NSA, which is network spinal analysis, which is Donnie Epstein's work. It's a modality of chiropractic. So the reason I am not endorsed by any of these people, just to make that super clear. This is just my experience myself of having the very good fortune of being able to experience these two things, know these modalities, and how it has helped me. So I just want to make that super clear. Yeah. So EFT, so Dennis is a practitioner of EFT, and perhaps you can describe what it is, and then I'll talk about why it works with frequencies and why it benefits.
You bet. I'd be happy to. And, the thing about it is, I think the people that are watching here and the people that kind of come to the table are people that have been seekers, and they, chances are, have tried a lot of different modalities. And the fact of the matter is, for them at that time, it might be just perfect. And then, they move from that to this and to that. And that's fine. It's a journey. So that's what happened to me, is that my journey was, it kind of started with meditation. And then it went to yoga. And it went from yoga to Reiki. And it went from Reiki to EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And it continues to grow. And then it leads to, this type of work that you're doing. So with EFT, what I found is that it's extremely subtle but very powerful. And like you say, it's a tapping technique. And the first time I experienced it, I thought, that's about the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, you feel kind of like a monkey, know. And so there's a couple different ways you can go about it. You can tap on yourself, or you can have a practitioner tap on you. And what I have found, just my own personal experience, is that it's a little more powerful if you have somebody assist you. Because what the technique is the tapping, but also there's the talking. So, for example, if I was tapping on you, Karen, what I would do is ask you to repeat after me. So, my name is Karen, and I give myself permission to release, whatever it might be. And you start at the top, and you kind of work through the body. But what I have found is, if I allow someone else to talk to me and kind of hold my hand, is that I will follow that person. Where if I tap on myself, I question, am I being honest with myself about what it is I need to look at? We talked about mirror. And so someone else can sometimes see me better than I can see myself. And so with that tapping, it really is very, very powerful.
Okay.
But what I'd like to hear from your perspective is, from energetically, what do you sense?
From my understanding of EFT, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm certainly not an expert. So the way EFT works is that you're tapping on certain meridian points, and as you're tapping on certain meridian points, which is based on the Chinese acupuncture system, you are releasing emotions out of your nervous system. That's my understanding of it. And as you tap on these points, the emotions literally release. And it's, to me, a huge benefit, because as I said, these frequencies have to come out of you physically, mentally, emotionally. And so we hold a lot of things in our emotional bodies. And this, to me, is the fastest way of releasing emotion out of the nervous system. So it's not just like, okay, I kind of want this to go away. You actually will experience the emotion, and then you may yawn or burp or whatever, cry, and you don't really know why, and then it's gone. And it's, for me, the fastest way to do that. And I've even done it when I've been running. Like, I'll be like, oh, this is coming up, and I'll be tapping on my head and running, and people will be like, weird girl running with and I'm like, I don't know you, I'm good, I need to release this whatever fear it is. So you can do it. I mean, I don't recommend doing it when you're driving or anything, but it's a really powerful modality, and you can use it for emotions, you can use it for physical pain. My father used it when he was alive to manage his pain, and he found it really helpful. What I find with the frequency work, why it's so fast, is because, as I say, you remove the distortion patterns, and then it has to come out of the physical, mental, emotional field. So EFT is brilliant for the emotional, mental perspective. So you can just be like, oh, wait, oh, there's that fear pattern. She released that, and I'm noticing it's coming up. So I'm just going to tap. I'm going to release it out of my nervous system, and then it's done. And it's so fast. And as you say, if you have a practitioner, it's really beautiful because they can see you. Like, I mean, we're kind of like doing our thing and we see ourselves the way we see ourselves with the mirror clouded, but someone else can see us more clearly. So it's often helpful to have a practitioner do that. And once you learn it, the wonderful thing about EFT is that once you learn the points, you can tap on yourself. So if you don't have a practitioner in front of you available to you, you can actually do it yourself. So what I see is that it expedites all of that work out of the physical fields so that you don't have to sort of stay in this, you know, state of either sadness, depression, anxiety, fear, or worry, or whatever. Or if you do see it come up, you can clear it really fast. That's been my experience of it anyway.
You know, and I think people, when they have that experience, one of the things that they, you know, we were talking earlier about that void, that vacuum, is that we don't realize how much mind chatter kind of controls us.
Yep.
And so I've got this constant, you know, pattern that's running through me, this fear of someone or something. And when you do the EFT and you actually release that trigger point, and you can just see it in people, it's like,
where'd it go?
whoa.
I know, it's amazing.
Like,
it's amazing.
Like, what just happened?
What just happened? Yeah. It literally releases, when I see it on spirit level, it literally releases out of it just like gone. And it's spectacular. So I love EFT. Yeah. So
what's the other one?
The other one is what called NSA, or Network Spinal Analysis. It is a form of chiropractic. It was established by Donnie Epstein. And there are chiropractors, around the US and around the world who practice this. And essentially what it does is it's brilliant because it links the unbound into the bound. So it links the two. So frequency work happens out here in the unbound energetic state, okay? High vibrating. And then we have our bodies. So what happens is in this form of chiropractic, they don't crunch or pop or do anything like this. They find the points of ease. And I am not an expert at this, okay? So all you NSA folks, okay, I'm just my interpretation of what happens, okay? So they find the points of ease, and what happens is this psychosomatic wave happens up the spine, and it allows for us to move the frequency work out and through the body, through the kundalini, up the spine, and out through your crown, which is really spectacular. And I'm sure I'm not doing it justice. However, this is my experience of it, and it really is amazing to experience this work. I receive this care myself once or twice a week. I'm very, 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 very lucky to have two great practitioners. And it makes it extraordinarily fast because it processes through your body. It has to come through the body. Like the frequency, it has to come through the density. So it links from that place of the frequency work, which is unbound, through the body and then out. So it's a full circuit. So you can process really, really fast. Yeah. So I love it, and it's a total game changer, and it's amazing.
So I think what you're saying is there's other modalities out there, and you know each of us has to kind of find that person or allow that to come into our life to help offset, because this transition can be very challenging.
It can be super intense.
Mentally, emotionally, physically. So, you know, it's okay to lean on other folks and support. And it's going to, once again, it's going to be unique for everybody. For some people, it might be swimming. Or it might be walking, or it might be running, or it might be EFT, or it might be, you know.
Or a combination of those things. And I feel like and it's about the speed. So all those things will help. Like massage and acupuncture and all these things can help. And what I will say is they sort of are different in terms of the speed and the intensity at which they can help. And they're all helpful. So, and also things like diet. So the cleaner you eat, the easier it is. Because then your body's not trying to deal with all this other stuff going on that you are digesting and putting into your body. And then also all the frequency stuff that's happening. It's just a lot going on. So diet actually is really important as well. So be aware of how much sugar you eat, because that's a really big problem in terms of people being able to process, and how much water you're drinking, because most people are dehydrated. So you need to drink water. More than you think. And I'm not going to talk about food right now, it's for a different topic, but just be aware of how much sugar you're eating. What happens when I see it on spirit level is that sugar has this weird frequency, and it like can often throw people out of their body because it spins them up too fast, and caffeine does this too. Like coffee, depending on who you are, I'm not saying everybody, depending on who you are, it can spin you out of your body because it's making you go too fast, and it makes you kind of wacky, and you can't settle back into, it's hard for you to come back into your body. So I'm not saying, like I said, it's not everybody, but just be aware that that can happen. So just be conscious of how much you're drinking and what you're eating, because it does impact things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.